Hi and welcome everyone to another video on this channel. Today we're gonna be talking about the best players under 5% ownership. So if you want to see some nice differential, make sure you stay here. Okay, so as you can see, the first player on my list is Ryan Enury from Wolverhampton. But before talking a little bit about him, just let me say that in this list you're gonna see players who are gonna be under 5% ownership. So they are differential. I'm not saying again that you should buy them at the moment, but I just think that these players are gonna be pretty good value this season. So if you wanna go a little bit different, if you want to catch up some ranks, I think that these players are going to be pretty good options for you. So Enury, a defender from Wolverhampton, his price, he's really cheap, 4.3 millions. He's the cheapest way into that Wolverhampton defense, and we know how good they can defend. And also his ownership obviously is really low, just 0.7%. So he didn't score any goals this season, but you need to take into consideration that he didn't play all the games, he was injured at some point, and also Martial played some games. He got 3 assists this season, he got 2 assists in the last gaming. So that's the thing with Enury. He's still a rotation risk. We are not 100%. I'm not saying that he's gonna play 90 minutes every gaming, but from my point of view, I just think that Enury is the better defender. I think that he's better than Martial, and I think that he's gonna play more games than Martial, but again, I'm not 100% sure about that. So he's creating chances, he got some goal attempts, his XG plus XA per 90 is not amazing, but honestly 0.15 from a defender, really cheap, 4.3 millions, I think that's pretty decent. The fixtures for Wolverhampton are not great, but you need to take into consideration that Wolverhampton are one of the best defensive side in the Premier League. They kept 8 clean sheets in the last 10 games, I think, and also they played against Liverpool, City, Tottenham, so pretty tough fixtures. So as you can see, the fixtures are not amazing. Brentford is nice. Arsenal, Spurs and Leicester is not great, also West Ham there and Crystal Palace, but the best reason I think that Enury is gonna be an amazing pick is because of Wolverhampton defense, right? Because even if he's not gonna get so many attacking returns, I think that Wolverhampton are gonna keep so many clean sheets this season, and that's why I think that Enury is for sure one to watch. Okay, so next up on the list we have Andrew Robertson from Liverpool. I don't really need to talk too much about him because obviously everybody knows him. He's a defender, he's pretty expensive, 7 millions, but I think that's pretty much justifies from my point of view. And also it's pretty funny to include Robertson on a differential risk, but at the moment he's a differential, his ownership is just 2.9%, so I don't really need to talk too much about him. Everybody knows how attacking he is. He plays in one of the most attacking sides in the Premier League and also one of the best defenses in the league. So he got 1 goal this season, he got also 6 assists, he created 29 chances, he got 7 clean sheets, and his XG plus XA per 90 is pretty decent from my point of view for a defender, 0.31. The fixtures for Liverpool are also amazing: Crystal Palace, Leicester, Burnley, Norwich. They're gonna have a blank in gaming 27, but after that they're gonna play against West Ham at home. So that's one thing. Liverpool are not gonna double probably in gaming 23, but the thing is, I think that players like Trent, Jota, Robertson can easily outscore any double gaming player. Let's just say Aston Villa are gonna have a double gaming, so you're gonna get Luca Digne, but I just think that there's all the chances obviously for Robertson to outscore Luca Digne in a double gaming against Crystal Palace, but obviously Luca Digne is more cheaper than Robertson, so there are cons and pros. Obviously the thing is, at the moment so many people own already Trent Alexander-Arnold and Diogo Jota, and in one game or maybe in 2 games we are gonna bring in Mohamed Salah. So that's the thing, it's pretty hard to integrate Robertson at the moment in your team, but I'm just thinking if Salah is gonna come back, maybe a good strategy could be to replace Jota to buy Mohamed Salah, and maybe that way you can upgrade your defender from your team to Andrew Robertson. So that's one reason. Obviously there are high chances for Liverpool to have a double gaming in gaming 26, so one game is against Norwich and one game is gonna be against Leeds or Newcastle maybe. So that's an amazing double gaming, and I think that we all want to have 3 Liverpool players for that gaming, right, in gaming 26. And with Andrew Robertson, at least you know that he's gonna play all the games, if he's not gonna get a red card anymore and if he's not gonna get injured obviously. But yeah, I just think that at that price he could be a nice alternative to Diogo Jota if you want to go with him. The next player on my list is Jacob Ramsey, as you can see, from Aston Villa. So he's a midfielder, he's really cheap, his price is just 4.6 millions, and also his ownership is just 2%. So I think that if you want to go with a cheap midfielder, maybe you want that money to upgrade elsewhere, I think that probably at the moment the best option you can get is Jacob Ramsey. So obviously I know that Felipe Coutinho and Luca Digne at the moment are players with under 5% ownership, but the reason why I didn't include them in my list is because I think that that their ownership is gonna rise through the roof before the deadline. So we have Jacob Ramsey. He scored 3 goals, 1 assist this season. He's getting some chances. His XG plus XA per 90 is really decent for a player of his price, 0.18. He played amazing in the last game against Manchester United, and obviously I know that Coutinho, Watkins and maybe Luca Dini are gonna be the main targets for most people from Aston Villa, but I think that if you want to go a little bit cheaper, if you want to save up some cash, you can't go really wrong going with Jacob Ramsey. So one of the most important reason why I think that targeting Aston Villa players is really important are the fixtures. Obviously, as you can see, Everton, Leeds, Newcastle, Watford, Brighton and Southampton in the next 6 games is just ridiculously good. And also we need to take into consideration that there is a high chance of Aston Villa having a double game week in game week 22, so that could change all the things. And obviously I think that going with some Aston Villa players could be essential for the next game weeks. Okay, so the next player on my list is Alexis McAllister from Brighton. I need to say that again, I'm not saying that you should buy this player at the moment. I just think that the players from this list are gonna be really good value along the season. So I'm not saying they are gonna get big hauls short term, but I think that long term along the season they are gonna be pretty decent value. So he's a midfielder, his price is 5.3 million, really cheap. His ownership obviously is really low, just 0.8%. So with Brighton you have other alternatives if you want to. You can go with Mopé, you can go with Trossard, you can go with Cucurella or Lamptey. All of these players are pretty low owned obviously, but McAllister is more like a differential, right? So he scored 4 goals this season, he got 1 assist. His XG per 90 is not amazing, 0.18, but obviously with that price you don't really need to have such a big expectation, right, from a player like him. So he got 22 goal attempts, which is decent. He also created 14 chances, so a good reason to buy McAllister is that obviously it's gonna be a good differential. He also took 1 penalty, if I'm not wrong, so who knows, maybe there are some chances gonna be on penalties from Brighton. He played the last game mix, he didn't play all the games this season, but in the last game mix he played, so that's a good sign for him. The problem with Brighton is they're gonna have a blank in gaming 24, as you can see, because that's when Chelsea are gonna play in the Club World Cup, so they are gonna have some fixtures to be rearranged in the future. The next game week in gaming 22 they are gonna play against Leicester away, so that's not the worst gaming because Leicester are not really keeping clean sheet at the moment. So yeah, the fixtures long term for Brighton, I'm not gonna lie, looks pretty good. Watford, Burnley and Newcastle are 3 of the best fixtures you can get at the moment, right, in FPL. Aston Villa at home in gaming 27 is not gonna be easy, but you got the idea. I think that McAllister, if you really want to go cheap, if you want to save up some cash, he could be a decent option along the way. Okay, so next up we have another player from Aston Villa, Emiliano Buendia. He's a midfielder. I really think that there is some value in his price, just 6.2 million, and his ownership is just 1%. I was really surprised when I saw his ownership, but obviously maybe that's for good reason because Aston Villa were really bad in the start of the season. He scored just 1 goal this season, he got 3 assists, he got some goal attempts in the box, but yeah, his XG plus XA per 90 is really decent, 0.28 for a player of his price. I talked about the fixtures from Aston Villa when talking about Ramsey, so I'm not gonna talk too much about that. The fixtures for Villa are amazing, maybe the best fixture run for every team. So also there is a high chance of Aston Villa having a double game week in game week 23, so that's why I think that we should target some Aston Villa players. I'm not saying you should go with Buendia, but I just think that obviously everybody is gonna go mad about Coutinho, and don't take me wrong, I really love Coutinho. I think that when Coutinho came in from in that game against Manchester United, Aston Villa looked much better. I think that Buendia alongside Coutinho looked much better, and honestly, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go for Coutinho. I think that maybe Coutinho could be the better option, but Buendia is cheaper, and I think that he's going to be an essential player from Aston Villa this season. So that's why I think that it could be also a nice option, and obviously it's going to be a great differential. The next player on my list is Maxwell Cornet from Burnley. I know that probably at the moment you're all laughing at me, but just let me say that I know that the fixtures for Burnley look horrible at the moment. Arsenal, United, Liverpool, Brighton and Chelsea in the next 6 fixtures is gonna be really tough for Burnley, but the thing is Maxwell Cornet is playing at the moment in African Cup of Nations, so maybe he's gonna be back for gaming 24 or maybe he's gonna be back for gaming 25. I just think that you shouldn't buy 100% Maxwell Cornet at the moment. I just think that in the future he could be a nice option, and one reason is Burnley have 4 games to be rearranged, and also there is a chance that this game against Watford is gonna be postponed. So if that's gonna be the case, they are gonna have 5 games to be rearranged. So they are gonna play against Villa, Spurs, Everton and Leicester. So the fixtures are decent, the games to be rearranged, and I just think that If I was to go for a player from Burnley, Maxwell Cornet probably is the only one. His price is 5.9 million. His ownership is really low, obviously, but that's for good reasons, 0.5%. So he scored 6 goals this season, pretty decent for a player playing from Burnley and also a player of his price. He got some goal attempts in the box and his XG plus XA per 90 is 0.22. So another good reason to buy Cornet in the future obviously is that he's taking free kicks, and we know he scored the free kick earlier in the season, so that's the thing. I'm not saying you should buy him, obviously you shouldn't buy him at the moment, but in the future Maxwell Cornet could be a nice option considering that Burnley have so many fixtures to be rearranged. Next up we have a player from Crystal Palace, Michael Olise. So he's a midfielder, he's pretty cheap, 5.4 millions, and obviously his ownership is really low, just 0.2%. so I'm not saying you should buy him again, but he scored 2 goals, 3 assists this season, and you need to take into consideration that he played so few games for Crystal Palace this season, because obviously at some point he was injured, but at the moment he played in the last 2 games. I think he's playing really good. He scored in the FA Cup, so I really like this guy and I really like how he's playing. I think that he's gonna be a really nice option and a really good value player this season. I'm not saying that he's gonna play all the games, because probably it's not the case, but I just think that he's an amazing player and he could be a great option if you want to go a little bit cheaper. So that's why he created just 7 chances and he got just 3 goal attempts in the box, because he played few games for Crystal Palace this season, but hopefully he's gonna play more games in the future. So his XG plus XA per 90 honestly is pretty decent for a player of his price, 0.21. The fixtures for Palace are pretty mixed. As you can see, Liverpool, Chelsea and Wolverhampton from an attacking perspective are pretty bad fixtures, right? But Norwich, Brentford and Burnley are really good fixtures. So obviously I'm not saying that you should target Crystal Palace player at the moment, because maybe Leeds or Aston Villa are gonna have a double game week in game week 22. So if that's the case, probably most people are gonna target players like, I don't know, Harrison, Rafinha, maybe Coutinho, maybe Buendia, someone like that. But I think that in the long term, Michael Olise could be an amazing pick for the season. The last player on my list is Nikola Vlasic from West Ham, and I know that at the moment at West Ham we have so many options. We have Antonio, we have Bone, we have someone like Fornals, Lanzini, even Ben Rahman when he's gonna be back from African Cup of Nations. So it's gonna be pretty hard for us to include Nikola Vlasic in our team, because Bone at the moment is just one of the best players in the Premier League, talking about form. So his price is 5.7 millions. As you can see, his ownership is just 0%. So yeah, if you really want to go with a differential, probably he's the best one, because nobody pretty much owns him. So he scored 1 goal this season, he got just 2 goal attempts in the box, but you need to take into consideration that he didn't play many games this season. But at the moment in the last game weeks, honestly I have to admit that Nikola Vlasic looked pretty good from West Ham. So I think that at the end of the season or maybe in the future he's gonna be a pretty nice player, and I'm not gonna rule him out. Maybe at some point he's gonna be in my team, but yeah, the fixtures are not really great but are not bad either. So United, Leicester, Wolverhampton, Liverpool are not gonna be easy, but Watford, Newcastle are pretty decent fixtures. So that's the thing. In some case scenario Vlasic could be a nice option. I'm not saying 100% at the moment you don't need to buy him, because we have so many good options in midfield at the moment. We have Bone, we have Jota, we have Foden, we're gonna have Coutinho, we're gonna have, I don't know, someone like Rafinha in the future is going to be a nice option. So yeah, but in some case scenario, let's say at some point Michael Antonio is going to get injured. If that's the case, maybe Nikola Vlasic is going to be an essential pick in FPL, but at the moment he's just one to watch, but I'm going to watch him really closely. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider leaving a like or subscribe to this channel if you're new around here. It would be really helpful for me and I really appreciate it. And also please let me know about your opinions in the comments down below. See you next time.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.